nigga. We ain't really going.
So, we just saw that video, right, in 2015, and here we have the same picture, right? Kelvin Watts, Nut Life times 2, because you have Shamel Drinks, Kelvin Watts in this post. And that is the projectile that murdered Shamel Drinks and the projectile that murdered Donovan Thomas. Same victims, right? You had Donovan Thomas with Lucci, and you saw how they treated Lucci. Now Donovan Thomas with Kelvin Watts, and you saw the connection. Similar victims over time with different YSL co-conspirators committing the crimes, often together. Not always the same, but similar patterns, which is important for RICO. Now, other connections. You heard about... We got to take Buddy's name out of the song in case she gets whacked.
I fuck around and get whacked. You know that shit come down on us. Yeah.
Because it's going to come down on us. This lets you know that they try to toe the line to get right to where they can diss an op or say something but have some deniability. And then this is song. That's Garlington. Get shell whacked. It doesn't, yes, it's just a song, but when you're shooting and continuing to promote violence on the same people, that creates a pattern. And that was Demekion Garlington and DeMarco Boyer, who was those phone calls you heard about the night of Shamel Drinks' murder. So what other connections do we have? Well, if you keep going, we talked about this drug sale, right? This is Durante Beebe. Who was with him? Darius Ford, right? This is back in 2020 at, I believe, 151 Cleveland. There's Darius Ford. Now, you have, it should come up here. This is Rodelius Ryan and Durante Beebe, right? So remember this. Ford, Beebe, Ryan, it's like a 6 degrees of separation through different crimes. So follow me here. This is Darius Ford and Rodelius Ryan.
We right back run through this shit. Yeah, snack fuck wrong with y'all, nigga. We right back run through this shit. Fuck wrong with y'all. Yeah, peace and blessings. Gang, peace and blessings like shit. Peace and blessings.
This is Rodelius Ryan saying FYFN. Then you have Garlington, right? We got y'all boys. Ryan, Ford. This is Darius Ford. That's Christian Miller. That Garlington's posting, right? It's the YSL enterprise and how they view each other. And if you exact violence on one of them, they're all going to try, or if you get a rival or an op, it's for the gang. It's for the enterprise. And then if we keep going with this, this is 05 Driving Slim. This is Christian McMiller with Rodelius Ryan at Slime Business Rod, right? And he puts the heart emoji in the snake. Then you have Shannon Stillwell and Darius Ford, right? And then you have Garlington talking about spinning it every night.
When I smoke, you're not in bum
playing a song where in the mix of shooting Shamel Drinks,
right?
So yes, it's a song, but it has a different context when you know what they do.
Barbecue, we spin.
This is from Ryan's Instagram, right? Slap. This is SB. What's up? Using Garlington's Instagram to Rodelius Ryan, right? There's connections between the co-conspirators, and it shows a pattern where they commit crimes together. It may just be Darius Ford and Beebe selling drugs, but then it also may be shooting up all of these homes or murdering people, and they work in concert together. Now, it has to have, what is an enterprise, right? In this case, it's the criminal street gang. It's got to have a common purpose. It has to have a common kind of ongoing nature. It doesn't have to be a formal, like, employee roster or something like that. It can be a loose or informal relationship amongst them. It's as simple as that. You've seen how the way that YSL, the common identifiers, and the way that they act and speak in concert shows that they have, I would argue, more than a loose relationship with one another. In determining it, you can use the pattern to prove the enterprise. This is where the crimes themselves and how they're committed kind of help you. And is there an enterprise? Well, the way that they work in concert shows you that there is. And I misspelled. There's always one word in every slide, and I've checked this thing 20 times, so I apologize. racketeering. I knew there'd be one. Okay. So, is this a RICO?
Right? Yeah, Uncle had wanted me to call you. The man got jumped on.
I know it. That's why I was telling y'all
Yes,
the last time I told you, I say when Lamar leaves in classification, make sure y'all tell him to hit so a nigga know
We
what's
called
going on.
we called you soon. He got up there, but see what Uncle was trying to see. They were saying it was a mob nigga and some 9 dude niggas jumped on, bro.
That's what we just heard the same thing too. That's why we trying to figure out who the fuck up there mob and folks jumped in with some YSL niggas or some shit.
Yeah, that what folk were trying to call you and see like who the hell that was.
So, do it for Phil, right? Trying to get protection is with in the other car with Carmavius Nichols after the murder of Shamel Drinks. Talking about Unfunk. Do it for Phil, the person who's hashtag top shotter, happy snake day at Slime Business Ride, is Miles Farley. The same person who's in the Ford Fusion with Carmavius Nichols when they're at the gas station and then pulls out behind Shamel Drinks, right? So you see this connection and support where when one goes in jail and someone tries to jump Farley, the gang gets protection. And they may use an allied gang. That's a pattern, and it's to further the enterprise because you don't want to get caught or get harmed. So take it a step further. This is Christian Eppinger, YSL Brish. That's Unfunk he's posting. Here's Eppinger, Wooney Lee, and BB, right? Only the slimes all together. Now, when you have Unfunk, Garlington, and Sumlin, so you have Eppinger in 2016 saying free Unfunk, right? Then in 2022, you have Christian Eppinger and Sumlin having that jail call to try to get Lucci, and then you have Unfunk and Garlington trying to get protection because YFN, the same group of Lucci, is trying to hurt Miles Farley. So there's connections between the acts. There's patterns in the interactions amongst each other. And if you take it a step further, then you have Wooney Lee with Shannon. You heard about No Slime Left Behind. Wooney Lee with Kendrick, actively promoting the gang. Yes, it may just be a photo, but when people think you murdered people, shot people, and got away with it, it has a different context to that. It has a much different context. What is Kenneth Copeland roughly 2 weeks before this indictment? How is he interacting, right? He comes up here like everything's in the past. This is Kenneth Copeland.
He heard somebody. Police been lock up 43, they got a 43-man indictment.
That what Font said?
That was Toon said.
I don't know. He ain't told me that.
Yeah, he said that what he heard, but you know he probably just talking. Ain't no telling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What you think for what?
I had Jake out of what's the name of him.
What you think for what though?
He just said Rico, I guess.
Rico, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what he said. But I don't know how true it is. I told that shit. That's stay off Instagram.
Better stay off Instagram.
Yeah.
Not like Rico.
Yeah.
What Rico? I'm not a criminal enterprise, right? They're casually Copeland, and it kind of makes you think when he's in this witness stand, like, I'm a changed man or I don't hang out with them anymore, right? This is him in April 23rd of 2022. If you look at the indictment date, it's May 9th, 2022. That's 2 weeks before that indictment, and he's calling Garlington, who he said told him about what happened, that all of these 2 defendants, when they murdered Donovan Thomas. Think about that when you determine credibility in RICO. Taking it a step further, you have some.
No, listen, man, I just got.
Well, it's the call where he says he just got off the phone with Woody, and that YSL stuff is hot. You need to take that down, right? And then at the very end of that, and I won't play the whole thing, but it's in evidence, they say, we need to take that YSL because it's hot, get off social media, right? So that shows you that they know, they just don't want to get caught. This RICO conspiracy, this is your verdict form. When we talked about A and B, it's going to look like this. As to conspiracy to violate subsection A, we the defendant. A, acquire and maintain property, knowingly and willfully conspire. B is those objectives I talked about. Did you participate in the enterprise, knowing and understanding that a pattern of racketeering, which remember, check the indictment for the crimes, Do you think that they knew, when these two defendants from January 10, 2015 onward, that there would be robbery, aggravated assault, intimidating witnesses? I mean, of course they did. But think about that when you look through this, because you have to decide, is it A or is it B? I believe it's both, but you can find either as a jury when you deliberate. And remember, some evidence can factor into both. The robberies can be A. The stolen guns can be A. They also can be a part of B when you create a pattern. And then on the bottom, it's going to ask you about guilty, guilty. Please identify on the next page the overt acts you find. So when y'all agree unanimously on an overt act, and you got to find one after May 10th, 2017, the good news is there's plenty that the state has proven happened after that date, so they shouldn't be hard to find. You write them down. And if you need to write 50, write 50. If you need a pen, ask the court reporter. She'll come bring you an extra pen if y'all need and run out of ink. But fill it out on the form after this, once you all deliberate and talk through the evidence. And you will find them guilty of the RICO enterprise when you look at the evidence and the common sense, reasonable inferences from all of it and some of these connections. I just gave you a few. I could do this 6 degrees of separation with multiple crimes throughout the case, but I tried to pick a couple to show you. And participation in treating activity, this is much simpler. You know, the RICO enterprise and the criminal street gang is one in part the same. Criminal street gang activity is there is a gang, YSL. Clearly the evidence has shown at this point that YSL is a criminal street gang, right? Are they a part of that street gang? Do they commit criminal street gang activity? For purposes of this indictment, the judge will instruct you that the street gang charges, the firearm possessed during the drugs for Kendrick and the murder of Shamel Drinks for Shannon Stillwell, both murder and possession of firearm during commission of a felony, which is the drugs, are criminal street gang activity. So all you really have to decide, in my mind, is there a nexus to the street gang? And I'm going to, this goes on to explain criminal street gang activity, which the judge will tell you that for these crimes, they are street gang activity. You just have to find Kendrick and Stillwell and the YSL street gang, which for all intents and purposes is the same as the criminal enterprise we've just been describing. And I'm going to, B is in order to maintain or increase status. So you'll see Shannon Stillwell has B. When he murdered Shamel Drinks, do you think that was in order to boost his YSL street cred and increase his status? Of course it was. He had no personal disagreement with Shamel Drinks. The only reason to murder him is because you saw all this public posting about get back, revenge, and he has that tweet I had earlier of up the score. That, when Shannon Stillwell committed that murder, it was to further the street gang. There's no other reason that makes any sense. And it would certainly boost his common signs, symbols, and tattoos. I only have a snippet. This is very similar to the first witness belt nap, right? Y'all have heard ample evidence of all these identifiers. You've heard about slat, slime, the lizard, the snake, the green, Copeland with the hand sign. Y'all are basically gang experts at this point, probably yourselves, because you've heard a lot about it. But it's important to show you the evidence over time. Tattoos, I've talked a lot about these. I think it's important to, these permanent YSL lifestyle. This is Trontavia Stevens. That's Antonio Sumlin. That's Antonio Sumlin. That's the Diamante Kendrick. Slime Life, YSL. And then you have face tattoos, Javon Fleetwood. Then you have Walter Murphy's going to come up, and Christian Eppinger. Public YSL tattoos on their face. Essentially a walking billboard for the enterprise. And if you commit a crime with that on your face, it's to help let people know this is from YSL. Going a little bit further, 3 or more members, clearly there's 3 or more. RICO was 2 or more. Gang, you need at least 3. So you can't have a gang of 2 under the law. It's the same principle. That block is easily checked as an element. This is just pictures of multiple. This is Rodelius Ryan adding all of the slimes. This is Kendrick, Copeland, Zachary, ball up them slimes back in 2014. And that's Trontavia Stevens, again, showing you how they publicly accept and acknowledge the gang, or at least when they're outside of a courtroom. Going further, this is Quindarius Zachary, November 6th, 2014. Well, I'll keep going, but it's the video y'all watch where he says YSLD, big bullets, and he's pointing a gun at a camera. That's just him publicly. And then firearms, right? This criminal street gang is armed constantly. These are some examples of acts where this is Shannon Stillwell with that firearm, Tranchavius Stevens with this firearm. Going further, that's Christian Eppinger with a stock of guns. YSL Brisk, who said they want smoke, that's Zachary, still don't know any better. YSL Little D. They have these firearms because they use them. They're not sport hunting, they're not collecting them, they're shooting people with them, as you've seen repeatedly. This is Waters Road, the drum magazine, the double magazine where it's taped together. That was the stolen one from the cargo. I'm just showing you examples, and if you think about it, it's quite a lot of guns, either in photographs or physically introduced. Why do they need them? For the enterprise, and for the context of this, the street gang. This is from May 9th, 2022. All of the guns in the home. Again, 2022 and 2015, they all are stopped and have and use firearms. That's the violence. That's the tool for the street gang. More firearms. This is from Rodelius Ryan in the middle with 6 firearms. This is Zachary with an AK, Zachary with an AK. This is Shannon Stillwell with nothing compatible in the trenches but a carbine, right, in 2020, over at Act 115. Over and over and over, they show you we have guns, we use guns, we're not afraid to use it. Believe them. The evidence has shown it. Gang detectives, I'm not going to go through everything. I think you've heard a lot, right? And what they talked about was not fantasy. Gaither and Dennis, when they talked about getting woken up in the middle of the night with all of this 2015, they interviewed Walter Murphy. They interviewed Quindarius Zachary. They interviewed Copeland 6 times. Not an easy task. All of that stuff they did repeatedly. They didn't, and they all acknowledged. This is Jeffrey Williams. The cops asked them all. They know my business in all the jurisdictions. They all testified about YSL Street Gang, identifiers, identified members. Are they all wrong? Are they all just, Gaither and Dennis are just making up crimes? No. YSL is a criminal street gang as shown by their actions. And Detective Belknap discussed the origins of Rock Crew, how it became YSL. He also mentioned how YSL, the street gang he started hearing about in schools before the record label was formed, and the rival between YSL and Inglewood family. I just simple 2 words, or I guess it's 3. 2015 first wave. This is waves of violence and a tsunami of evidence about a criminal enterprise operating throughout. And the second wave, Viv Rito told you about it. She told you about all these back and forth shootings in 2019 and 2020, and she talked about what was going on in just 1 month, March of 2022. And all of these social media she was clipping by, it seemed like almost the hour, to show this public disrespect. Same group, same victims, same rivalry in YSL and YFN. Nothing has changed except time. That's how you know it's a criminal enterprise actively afloat. May 9th, 2022. So for Kendrick, he's with Duke, Martinez Arnold in 2015 when they're stopped by Trestle Tree. You've seen the photographs of the marijuana and the firearms. He's in Jeffrey Williams' house. This is in May of 2022. Him actively having this arm protection, firearms, and being in a house and then running when the police come with 2 other identified, documented street gang members. It furthers the gang's interest to have multiple YSL members together, even in one of their own homes, because as you've seen, they're going to always be armed and have firearms. So all you have to decide, in my opinion, if you meet the other elements, is there a street gang? Is there 2 or more members? Is his possession of the marijuana and firearm collective construction, which Ms. Hilton will talk to you about, in furtherance of the gang? And I'll argue that it is. Shannon Stillwell's, when you talk about participation in criminal, I made it green to say found. Like I said, I don't need to belabor this much. I think it's quite obvious that Shamel Drinks is a textbook example of a gang murder, where they literally just shoot him because they happen to see him at a gas station. He's a rival, that they're following Kelvin Watts and other postings that are dissing or alluding to the murder of McMiller and Ford, and that's why he kills them. But you don't have a license to just kill who you want because they happen to be in a Instagram post or you think or they are associated with a rival gang. That's to boost his street cred within the gang. And then, you know, every slime plays nasty. What does Wooney Lee say about that? Yeah, they can argue that they're just trying to watch the local basketball game on the nightly news.
And ESPN got a bomb on me because we blowing niggas down.
He's got a gun and says ESPN because we're blowing people down. I mean, I don't know what else to say. This is Kendrick's tattoo. You're going to see, this is Miles Farley, ESPN tattooed on the back of his neck. This is going to be Christian Effinger coming up here. Rise and Slime, ESPN, and then I didn't clip it in there, but there's the song that Shannon Stillwell himself made where he literally says, every slime plays nasty. So these are common phrases, identifiers, and by nasty, they mean violence. You've seen it. Going a step further, is this a street gang? This is going to be Wooney Lee and Rodelius Ryan.
Fake, man, yeah, man, gang shit, man. They know what the fuck going, man, yeah, man, slime business shit, man. Man, happy birthday to me, man. Really mean everything to me, man. Shit on me for real. Can you get the only tattoo on me, man? Gonna spin again. Nah, for real, no cap, nigga. Slack, nigga. It been a minute since I suited up. It been a minute since I suited up. It been a minute since I suited up. Where you from? For your setup. P10 Clark, ready winning and he bothered me. When it's under the streets, took a party. I won't try to roll to a gangster.
Technology jacked up on me, but it's their own words, right? Rodelius Ryan, it's slime business, slack, and Wooney Lee.
Sex money mercy that's going on this set. I mean,
I'm the BEO. I'm the BEO of this sex, money, murder set. You heard Belknap, Gaither, and Dennis talk about the sex, money, murder, where YSL is a subset of that, right? It's their own words. They're not hiding from it. They're not slat on the finger. And then you're going to have again, Miles Farley, when the OGs don't feed, it boosts up the crime rate, right? They're actively telling you what they're doing, which was in Rodelius Ryan's Instagram. You all saw this video. Again, take them at their word. Don't just take mine.
wipe your nose, wipe your nose. Big B.
I know this shit.
Little baby rollout. Little baby rollout.
Little baby rollout. Keep rollout for a small child.
Sleeve that can't fucking bleed slop in the fucking trenches, man. Sleeve hate, man. Right now in the trenches, keep pistols. Oh, like you pistols up.
And they do keep pistols, and they do light people up, which means shooting at them. What is YSL about? I said the deception. You have the flash and the fame and the lifestyle, and it's all a joke. And then you have the reality of YSL street gang members exacting violence on members of their own community repeatedly over the years with impunity. The intimidation. I think y'all all know well what we've shown and walked through, the violence publicly about witnesses who come in and testify, the way that people get YSL amnesia, as I call it, when they sit in the witness stand and they can't remember entire years of their life. It's not believable, except there's real fear and there's real trepidation to coming into a court and testifying. Destruction, I don't have to go on this long. It clearly has their actions and crimes have destroyed pockets of the communities in multiple communities in Fulton County. And death. You've heard about the murders that they've committed repeatedly. It's not just words. In Fulton County, you can get a driver's license, you can get a fishing license, but what you can't do as a criminal RICO enterprise is no one's above the law, and you don't have a license to kill, and you don't have a license to operate for impunity for a decade at citizens in Fulton County. Because it doesn't matter in Fulton County if you're the richest, if you're the poorest, it doesn't matter anything about who you are. You don't deserve to be victimized. And a criminal enterprise has a lot more power and strength. And the crime that they've done, the pattern, the evidence, the agreement that they've had from publicly proclaiming it is clear. that this RICO enterprise is very real. It's more than just a conspiracy. It's alive and active. They willingly and knowingly agree to it, and they don't think that anyone will hold them accountable. But as reasonable, fair-minded jurors, when you deliberate and walk through the evidence, and you compare the evidence with the law from the judge, there's no conclusion but guilty on count 1 RICO. And I argue it's both subsection A and B, but that's for y'all to decide. And these crimes charged, the criminal street gang and RICO, I ask you guilty on all those counts. Ms. Hilt will talk to you after defense, and we'll talk to you about why the defendants are guilty of the charged murders of Donovan Thomas and Shamel Drinks. Thank you.